Joining me now is a featherweight fighter who defeated Mizzou Nurti Beek at M-1 Challenge 91 on May 12th in Shenzhen, China. It is Daniel Swain back on the program, or here on the program for the very first time. Daniel, how's it going?
It's going good, man. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to get in and talk with you.
Yes, sir. Long overdue, as I just said off air. Thank you so much for taking the time. Just a week or two off of a very impressive knee bar submission victory in the first round. Before we talk about the actual fight, the actual result, how did this fight come together with the M1 Challenge?
So I fought for them in 2015. I had 4 different opponents, and literally the whole camp, I just kept training, and it didn't matter who I was going to fight. And then my opponent even changed while I was on the flight over there. I flew there and got in after weigh-in, and my opponent had changed while I was on the plane. And then apparently he missed weight also because he took it on 4 hours notice. But I was like, I'm already here. Let's do it. Let's fight. And we fought to a draw, and he was 4 kilos heavier than me at weigh-ins. So, that was a tough draw. I thought I won the fight, but they scored it a draw for him, well, for both of us. So after that, I went and had a couple other fights overseas and back here locally, and then had a shoulder injury, took a year off, and then got a quick win. And then back at M1, they wanted to see what else I could do for them. So signed a 6-fight deal, and that was the first one, and we're hoping to do another one quick.
Oh, wow. So you signed a 6-fight deal. Oftentimes we see, fighters take 1-fight deals, especially going overseas, going over to China, a foreign place, so to speak. But you went right in, all in, sort of right from the beginning.
Yeah, definitely. I love fighting abroad. I fought abroad I think that was my 6th fight abroad. So, it's fun. I get to go see the culture, different cultures, see the different way people get ready for fights, different fight week preparations for promotions and stuff like that, and get to experience all that. And then at the end of the week, I get to beat somebody up. So it's not a bad gig.
And as far as the actual deal goes with M1, I guess it was good enough to not, you couldn't really refuse it financially, so to speak?
Yeah, compared to the regional circuit back here in the States, the money is almost twice as much. The regional circuit here in the States, it's really hard to make a living fighting if you're not in the top tier promotions. So I think right now the whole goal is win some money, beat some guys, get a good streak going, and then when my contract's up with M1, we'll see where we can go. But right now I feel like the way I'm fighting, I can compete with anybody on any level. So I'm just excited to get some wins together.
Yeah, and just out of curiosity, do you do something on the side? Do you have a day job to pay some of the bills at the very least?
So I'm a full-time student, and then I'm also a foster dad, and then I help run Warrior Camp here in Spokane, Washington.
Oh, wow. What are you going to school for right now?
I'm going to go to school to be a science teacher.
Okay, very cool. Why now? I know. Just remind me, how you're 27?
27, yeah.
Why
so
are you going back to school now?
Oh, I went to school originally right out of high school, but I went on a wrestling scholarship, and I was way more wrestler than I was student.
Okay.
So didn't get good grades. Then I got a couple of jobs to just kind of see if the fighting thing would pan out. Over time, it's been up and down. It's been great. I've always kind of had to have a side job. And then when I got the position at the gym, it was kind of perfect because then I was in the gym all the time. The problem was I was dealing with a shoulder injury that had to get repaired. So shoulder's completely healed up now. I'm on a 2-fight win streak with a total of 2 minutes and 45 seconds of fighting in 2 fights. So I'm pretty happy with my performances lately, and I can't wait to see what I can do next.
Have you always been a science guy? Has that always been your forte, so to speak, even if you go back to high school?
No, actually, I hated science in high school.
Oh, wow.
My science teachers in my high school were not great,
Okay.
so I never really got into it. But I took some classes. I already finished my AA to community college while I was working full-time and fighting full-time. So while I was there, I decided I wanted to go into the science field of education.
Huh, that's crazy. Who would have ever thought? Right now, I'm just finishing high school. There's something I hate. You could say I sure don't expect to go into it and become a teacher, but not only just doing it, but to teach it, I think is on a whole other level of you need to love it, and so that's kind of crazy how it's sort of a 180 almost, so to speak. You mentioned that you're also a foster dad, correct?
Yes, I am.
what exactly, I mean, what have you done? How long has that been the case? How is that going? What do you do on a daily
So,
basis for that?
yeah, my wife and I, we got licensed last summer, and we got our first placement of two boys, 10 and 8 years old, last August 1st. And we had them up until recently. We also got two more boys, two other brothers that were 10 and 8. So up until just recently, we had four boys living at our house full-time, and we were their foster parents. So we took care of them. We brought them to school. We did their doctor's appointments. We did everything like their parents would actually do while their parents were working on getting them back. Sometimes that's a real struggle because some of these parents aren't the best parents in the world, and then these kids get sent to certain homes that aren't the best homes in the world. So my wife, who's a teacher and a saint, she's really passionate about helping as many kids as possible. So we tried to fill our house that we bought with foster kids who needed a place to stay and someone to help guide them and look out for them and their interests.
That's very cool. Good on you, Daniel, for doing that. That's great. I guess going forward, I assume you just keep on continuing and bringing more kids and all that?
Yeah, well, we just had our firstborn child as well.
Okay, congratulations.
My wife actually went into labor while I was in China 2 days before weigh-in, so it was kind of a crazy situation. We were in China. My wife goes into labor 3 weeks early, and we were struggling a little bit. My wife wanted me to catch a flight home as soon as I could, but that would have cost me a lot of money. And then the Chinese government, because we were the main event, said, no, you don't really get to leave right now. Your visa's not until the 13th is when you're supposed to leave. So it was kind of this big ordeal. But after everything was said and done, we were glad that I stayed and we got the quick highlight win. So, everything worked out pretty good. I got to meet my daughter on Mother's Day, on my wife's first real Mother's Day.
Wow.
So.
What was that like going home? Not, of course on a big win, but being able to meet your daughter for the first time. That must have been the best trip home from a fight ever.
Yeah, it made the flights last so much longer because I just couldn't wait to get home. Typically, the flight back on an abroad fight, win or lose, is a pretty long flight because you're just ready to be home and get to celebrate the win a little bit. But this one was even worse because every minute I'm thinking, oh, I get to meet my daughter when I get home. So it was great when I got to see her finally. And it couldn't have been a better week, really, for my daughter to be born and then to have a performance like I had. It was kind of like a win-win scenario.
Sure. And what was it like fighting, knowing that home in the U.S. you had a newborn daughter waiting for you? That must have given you so much extra motivation.
Yeah, it was weird when the fight time came. I've dealt with some pretty crazy nerves in the back before with fights, and sometimes you go out and you have great performances, sometimes you don't. This one, I was super calm before the fight. My nerves were there, but they weren't really there. I had a total belief in myself, and I think a lot of that stems from just knowing that no matter what, if I would have went out there and he would have knocked me out in 10 seconds or win the way I did, when I got home, I was going to get to hold my brand new baby daughter, and I get to kiss my wife, and she's going to love me no matter what my performance in the ring or cage is. So when you come to terms with that and you realize that your performance that night, sure, it's important because you put all that hard work in, but if it doesn't pan out the way you want it to, I still got loved ones who care for me no matter what my performance in the ring looks like. So you get to kind of block out those nerves a little bit and just go in and have fun. That's what I've gotten to lately in my fighting.
Was this your first time in China?
This was my first time in China, yeah. I've been to Japan 3 times. I've been to the Middle East and then Russia twice. So I've gotten to travel a bunch, but yeah, this is the first time in China. China was pretty crazy.
Before we talk about China specifically, as far as just the traveling all over the places, are you talking more for fights, or do you just like traveling, as a hobby, as a pastime, like so many do?
So it started with fights. My first trip abroad was to Tokyo for Pancrase, and I went over there and I was like, this is kind of weird. I was a little unsure. I'm from a small town in the States, so I hadn't done a ton of traveling. I've been to Canada and stuff, but that doesn't really count because I lived in Canada for 3 years. So, but to travel abroad and actually see different cultures and see how people react, it was a really cool thing, and I kind of caught the travel bug. And so I've been to Russia twice for fights, Japan 3 times for fights, Middle East once for fights, but then I've also gone to Thailand, I've gone to Germany, Scotland, London. I've been all over. I got the travel bug now, and my goal is to see the world and beat its people up. That's the goal. So that's what I'm working on.
When you went to Thailand, how long ago was that, and did you hit up MMA gyms up there or down there?
So I had every intention of doing that, but I was on my honeymoon for Thailand, so most of the time was just spent doing honeymoon stuff.
That's a good excuse not to train in when you're in Thailand, is it not?
Yeah, exactly.
Now, China, you said it was pretty crazy. What was that like? What was it like being in China for the first time, fighting there? You mentioned the Chinese government. I've heard some interesting stories myself. What was it all like?
Yeah, so China's just like, not just like any other, but when you're fighting abroad, there's always that, like, you get the looks from the locals, you kind of get they'll definitely, if you go to the wrong shops, they'll try and up the prices on everything for you. The crazy thing about China is we were in Shenzhen, and that everyone kept telling me that's like the Silicon Valley of China. It's the most advanced technological city in China, and it's like blowing up over the last 20 years or something. It used to be a small fishing village. So you could see, like, you had your big skyscrapers and big, like, downtown areas and malls and craziness, but then not far you could get yourself lost in some little alleyways that brought you to some pretty old school, crazy China-looking places, and you would see, like we were walking after the fights, after we went and grabbed some drinks after the fights, and we walk up on this parking lot that's just full of pigs cut directly down the middle, long-wise, and they're all just laid out in the parking lot. It looked like they've been hosed off, and that's definitely what's going to be for lunch and dinner the next day, selling, or the next couple days. So that's kind of a weird thing to walk up on.
Yeah. Wow, that's quite crazy. Well, you leave me speechless, Daniel. Was it difficult? Was it difficult finding things weight cut wise, or just any other typical fight week supplies? I mean, again, you're sort of at this point a veteran of traveling. You said you've been to Russia, Japan, etc., etc. So it's not like it's all super unfamiliar. But hey, it's not a small town in the U.S. Or a big city where you have Walmart, you have all these other stores that you're familiar with. Was it difficult finding just, again, normal fight week stuff?
We're pretty dialed in. I always bring a couple of Pedialytes with me for right after weigh-ins, and then I'll go find a grocery store and get any produce, anything like that. There's typically always something in there that's going to work for after weigh-ins. I'm not too picky. I'm not that guy who has to have the same exact thing after weigh-ins. I just know that I want salt, I want fluids, and after that we'll go find something good to eat. So it wasn't too crazy. There were Walmarts and stuff there. I didn't go into a Walmart. After the fight, I did get a Big Mac because I like to test every Big Mac from every country I go to, see how it differs. China's pretty on point with U.S. I wasn't very satisfied with it. Tell you what, though, in Amsterdam, Big Mac is pretty legit. That's a good spot.
What are the major differences? What are the, I guess, pros and cons, or I guess the best things about an Amsterdam Big Mac versus an American Big Mac?
The meat tastes real. It didn't taste like your typical McDonald's meat that's not that. Yeah, exactly. It tasted like it was real, like there was some time put into those patties. I don't know if that's the case, or if it's just different types of meat that they're using, but it felt like there was an actual burger there that I was eating, not a bunch of chemicals, like when I went in the States.
That's always good. I mean, when you get a beef burger, you typically want real meat. Sometimes that's not always the case. More often than not, probably when you're going to McDonald's. Let's talk about the victory. Yeah. This was a first-round submission win. It was a crazy win. It was a kneebar, of course, and I believe, as I said off air, a guy I was talking to who watched the fight, he posted in a chat or whatever, what a crazy win from Daniel Swain here. It was really quite the sweet sequence in that fight. But then, of course, Alexei Oleinik comes along and picked up the second ever Ezekiel choke in the UFC that night, and so it sort of steals your thunder as far as crazy submissions. But I mean, just being in there and doing it yourself, how crazy was it? I mean, again, it was quite the cool submission.
Yeah. All week I just had this feeling all week. I was going to finish him fast. I was going to finish him with something cool. I kept telling my coach, like, I'm feeling super dangerous right now, striking-wise and submission-wise. I was on point all training camp. And then with the baby being born, it was just kind of an extra excitement added. So I was really fired up. And then to go out there, we started fast, threw a 4-punch combo right out the gate, which kind of paused him up a little bit and let me get more comfortable. And then I was throwing a lot of middle kicks, a lot of push kicks down the middle to try and set up the head kick that led to the knee bar. I took the opportunity right after he threw a body kick, and I blocked it and wagged it off, like, nope, you don't get to throw those kicks at me because I'm going to block them every time. I threw the head kick. It landed pretty solid, but he was able to catch it. And I went to kick out, and as soon as I kicked out, I felt he was holding on tight. And I just went back to my scramble wrestling days and dove under for a leg and started pushing back. And I've been working a lot of leg lock stuff because it's not really my game. I'm more of a take you down and get on top of you and pressure you out. But we got a couple guys in my gym who are real crafty with the legs, so I've been playing a lot more leg locks with them. So as soon as I grabbed that foot and pushed that other leg away, I felt that he wasn't defending properly, and I spun on it and was able to secure the knee bar and finish it pretty quick. So I was super stoked about it. And we kept talking about it all week, how it was going to be quick, it was going to be awesome, and it happened to work out that way, and I couldn't have pictured it any better.
It seemed like that extra leg lock work paid off.
Yeah, definitely. This is my first leg lock in a fight ever. I think it might be the first one I've ever attempted as well. So I'm batting 1,000 with leg locks in fights right now.
Well, and knowing that just makes it bigger. I mean, this was your 27th pro fight, is that correct? That's what Tapology says anyways. And,
27th pro fight.
Which is crazy considering you're still pretty young. I mean, 27 is by no means old for MMA. You're probably not even in your prime physically. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, might as well just sort of segue into that. I mean, you've had so many fights, but you're still pretty young. I mean, most people consider 29. I would think sort of that when you're in your prime, so to speak. Do you think the fact that you've had so many fights that just comes early for you though?
I've had so many fights now that I'm comfortable. I'm the crafty veteran with the young guys mentality and shape when I'm preparing properly. A big thing in my career is having to have that other job on top of it that doesn't allow me to train the way I should be training, or I'm a little lazy as well. So if I have a hard day at work, it's pretty easy for me to not go on my run after training. So when I got the job at the gym and I was there all the time, there were no excuses, and we're seeing kind of that come to fruition. My cardio's never been better. My striking's never been better. My grappling's never been better. So I'm excited to see what's going to come in these next few years. Like I said, I think right now the way I'm competing, I can compete at any level with anybody in the world. So, my goal is to beat Max Holloway. My goal is to beat, the best guys at 145, whoever's there at the time. So that's the ultimate goal, and I'm just going to keep working my way there.
You're a veteran of the sport, of course. As we talked about, you have a crazy record at 27 years of age. But you do feel like is UFC still the ultimate goal?
UFC, Bellator. I want to be able to pay my bills and not have my wife work, and then support my family with my fighting, doing something that I truly love, my passion. That's why. I've been doing this for 8 years now, and never looked back once. Never thought that it's time to hang it up. I've definitely, when I had my shoulder injury, the night after I blew my shoulder out, someone broke into my truck and stole all my training gear, and I was kind of like, is this kind of like the world telling me to not do this anymore, or what? But then I was like, no way, I'm ordering all brand new gear. I'm going to go. I'm going to do everything right while I still have a few years left to do it. So since I've been doing that, like I said, I feel unstoppable. I feel like I could step in there with anyone, whether it's UFC, Bellator, anybody in the world.
Cool. And just on M-1 again, I assume they treated you well. What was that like?
Yeah, M-1's great. I love working for M-1. Their promotion of their fighters, and they make you feel important. They treat you like a superstar when you're there, which is awesome, and get you ready for that when you actually hit those big leagues. And, being a name in M1's one of the longest-running promotions ever, so it's great to be a part of that, the promotion that's had Fedor fight for him and a bunch of other crazy names fight for him. So to be a part of that and build up through that, I'm a part of history by being associated with M1, being a fighter for M1. So I'm definitely excited about it, and I'm excited to see where I go with the M1 contract.
What was it like being the main event of all things?
Yeah, when I originally took the fight, I was told that I would be like middle of the main card, and I was like, that's perfect. My first fight with M1. 2 weeks out, I got told I was getting bumped up to co-main because the main event fell through. And I was like, okay, that's cool. Co-main, even better. And then when I got over there, they had me as main event on all the promotional stuff. So I was like, oh, so am I the main event then? They're like, yeah, this guy's very famous in China. We want him at the end of the card so people will stay longer. And I was like, oh, cool, yeah, but definitely. And then I was like, oh, this guy's famous in China. I guess I'm going to have to steal some of that fame and disappoint a bunch of the people in the crowd, which they were pretty disappointed. I don't know if you got to watch it, but they were interviewing fighters after all the fights, and then when I subbed them in a minute, they didn't interview me at all. They just kind of brushed me out of there. But that was so M1 partners with a promotion in China, WKG, World King's Glory or something like that. So they run all the promotional side, but it's under like the M1 banner, and the M1 fills it with their fighters against the WKG guys. And I think M1 only lost like 2 fights that night. It's basically how they run the promotion. So, it's great to be a part of that M1 community, go over and beat up another promotion's guys.
Well, I was going to say, you sort of answered the question, but I was just going to say, like, I assume you could feel the buzz for your opponent walking out. Were they booing? I know it might be different in China, but sometimes in the Asian countries they're a lot more respectful, and that's something we see with Pride or back in the day. But what was that like? Was it clear that they didn't want you to win?
Oh, so they were a lot like Chinese or Japanese fans, where they're very quiet and watching the action go down, but then when something happens, they cheer loud. The only difference was in Japan, they cheer loud for both guys because they just are fans of the sport and they want to see great techniques. In China, if the non-Chinese guy could land a vicious combo and drop the guy, and you would hear pins drop. But if the Chinese guy landed a glancing left hook, they'd freak out. So, but other than that, it was pretty quiet if there was no action. So kind of a mixture of Brazil and Japan is what I would put it as.
No death chance, though, I assume. So that's good.
Yeah, I didn't get booed when I walked out. In the Middle East, when I was fighting a Brazilian, I thought that was a little messed up. I guess they like Brazilians in the Middle East, but they booed me pretty hard in the Middle East.
Well, then think about this. You're fighting for a Russian-based organization in China, and you're from the States.
Yeah, exactly.
When do you want to get back in there? You said pretty soon. You took no damage. It was a minute-long fight. Have you talked to M1 since the fight? Do they want to get you back in there soon?
Yeah, they asked me when I would. So I just had the baby, so we're going to take a little bit of time off. But we're looking at July is probably when we're looking to make the return. Hopefully, me and my teammate Josh Reddinghouse will be on that card. Josh Reddinghouse is the #1 contender for M1. He's also from Spokane. He'll be fighting for the 135-pound title in his next fight. So to have him in my camp, who's fought over at M1 5 times already, and then he's fighting for the title next, is a great asset to have. Plus, they save a little money flying both of us out with one corner. So hopefully we'll both be on that July 21st card I forget where. It's in Russia. I don't remember what city it's in.
Well, Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time. I really appreciate it. As I said off the top, way long overdue, but I suppose better late than never. Congratulations once again on the quick win. Congratulations on the baby and everything else you got going on in your life. Before I let you go, just let my audience know where they can find you on social media, and if there's anybody you'd like to thank or give a shout out to, the floor is yours.
Yeah, it's all social media. You can follow me. It's at Swain MMA. Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on all of them. Yeah, follow me, Swain MMA. Snapchat, Swain145. If you want to follow me on there, I don't really use it, but you can follow me on there, I guess. And then, just look out for me and my teammates. We're coming. Warrior Camp, my gym, is 5-0 in the M1 ring with 3 out of 5 bonuses earned. So we've got some big things coming out of our gym. You're going to recognize some names that train with me soon, for sure.